Now, I've just dropped the last of the Kickstarter orders off to the post office, and I thought I might do a bit of a chat. Jeez. I made it back.
Alright, that's a little bit better. I was getting a little bit scruffy. Now, if you guys haven't actually been keeping track of my channel, you'll notice that I haven't posted anything for the last 4 months, and the last thing that I posted was a, yay, I'm doing a Kickstarter. And I did the Kickstarter, and it went really, really well. I ended up with about $50,000 Australian worth of sales, which is incredible. And if you guys actually don't know what Kickstarter is, I thought I might give you a little bit of a rundown and go through it before I start going into all of the backstory and what's happened and all of that sort of fun stuff. And sorry if I sound a little bit croaky. I used to think that I had a great immune system until I had a baby that likes to go mbah straight in your face. And then I realized I don't have a great immune system. I'm just good at staying away from babies that like coughing in your face. So Kickstarter, for those that don't know, it's basically a crowdsourcing website. It's a way for people to kick off their own business and to kick off projects that they've got in their mind and help them come to fruition. So basically what I did there is I post knives. So there's knives that I've made. I'll go grab some of them that are in the process of making. So these are some of the knives that are almost done. I've just got to finish sanding them down and go through with them. But pretty much the idea of the business is I've got awesome blades and I want to make awesome handles. So I figure they should be customized, they should be able to be something that people like. So if people really like a crepe myrtle with a purple epoxy, they can order that directly. If somebody wants to have a gum burr with a green epoxy, they can order that. If somebody wants to have a zebra wood with a handle that's a bit more bulbous, they also can order that. So the idea is that I want to have a customizable option for people to be able to order awesome knives and then get the handles that are going to match them. If you've got a favorite color, if you've got a favorite football team, if you've got whatever they want really. So the idea is that I went on to Kickstarter to be able to launch this and give me a chance to be able to do it full time, which, spoiler alert, I actually am. I quit my job and I'm currently making these full time. And the Kickstarter went really well. So people basically pledge for what they want. They say, I want to have a olive blue handle, and basically I'm going to make it up. They'll say what sort of knife they want, what knife sets they want, and then it comes to me and I'm basically going to make it up. And it went really well. But there are a few things that I majorly cocked up, and I thought this video I'm going to go through some of the processes, what I did wrong, things that I learned, and that sort of fun stuff. And instead of just listening to me waffle, I have some knives behind me, which I'm currently getting ready. There's about 10 there, and I thought I might go through the process as I'm waffling, and so you guys can actually see what's happening and see the whole process and how it all works. So let's start at the beginning about some of the things that I cocked up. And the biggest one that I feel the worst about is timing. I was doing probably about 12 hours per day and working 7 days. And the only time that I actually had off during the last 4 months, well, last couple of weeks I've had a couple of days off because I finished them a couple of weeks ago and dropped them all off at the post office, last of them off at the post office. But the only time I actually had off was when I was sick from a baby coming back from daycare and going on my face, as they do. And I picked up every single one of the germs, which made it even worse. Now, I am incredibly thankful of everybody that went along and trusted me in making it actually happen, and I'm great that everybody gave me the chance. But one of the things that I should have done and cancelled all of the problems was made the first delivery date in January. It would have made things so much easier. The first thing that went wrong is I couldn't get out of my work until about the 5th of December. The Kickstarter money probably didn't come in until about the 20th of December. So I pretty much bought all the knives for the December ones out of my own savings, and you're always getting that oh crap moment, is something going to go wrong, and I've now got $10,000 worth of knives sitting here without anywhere for them to actually go, and wiping out my savings and all that sort of stuff that was making my wife very nervous. But the money did come through. It was just late, so you're looking at your savings just going, am I going to eat next week? But yeah, it ended up alright, and shouldn't have to worry about that. And then the next problem was that delivery for them did not go that well. When I ordered from the supplier, I said, I've got a big thing coming up, but I don't know how many I'm going to have because I didn't know how many I'd be able to order. And then I say, I want to have 50 utility knives, and then they say, oh, we don't have that many. You're going to have to wait 3-4 weeks. And then I go, crap. Which basically threw everything out. So where I was doing it, if somebody ordered a blue crepe myrtle knife, I would make up all the blue crepe myrtle knives at once, and then I'd do all the pink crepe myrtle knives at once, and that's all. But when I was out of just one knife, it made it that I had so many little sets that I couldn't complete, and I couldn't post them off until those ones arrived. And then I had big piles of knives sitting here, and can't actually send them yet because I'm waiting on these ones to come, which threw up my whole system, and it just made it a whole lot more confusing. But eventually I did get more knives, and they did come in, and I pressured the suppliers, and I managed to get them out a little bit sooner than what they said they could originally, which is good. And at the end of the day, I did manage to get through them. The last December pledge went out probably about the 25th of January, and then the last January one went out probably the 25th of February. So I did get through them. It just took me longer than what I actually wanted, and I wasn't happy with the delay that went in. Now, I might go into some of the things that actually slowed me down. Why couldn't I get through that many? I'm only really doing the handle, so it shouldn't actually take me that long. I can sand them down, and actually, instead of me waffling and saying what's going wrong, I'm just going to show you how long it actually takes to get through them. So I'll show you some of the knives that I've currently got sitting here ready to sand down and to go. So these knives sitting here are iron bark with orange epoxy. So these ones are all ready to go. I'm going to start sanding these down. These ones are all pretty much ready to go. I'm going to put them into my little sanding belt. I've got my little system down here. So this is my little sanding station. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to shape all these up, sand them down, clean them up, and then get them ready to start finishing up. And I'm going to explain then the things that have slowed me down the most. And yes, I know it's messy here. I really need to get in here and have a good clean of it. I had a bit of a clean down in the shed and swept the floor and blew it all out, but the walls, so much dust absolutely everywhere. And fires. With this much dust, you get fires everywhere. I've had about 3 fires in the shed, which scares the crap out of me, because you get light dust that ends up everywhere, and the smallest spark goes in it from anything. I had a little smolder that started underneath one of the benches when I was welding up a little turntable thingy, and it went underneath there, it went on one of the board drawers, and there was a little bit of a smolder coming out, so I pulled out one of the drawers and it rustled up some of the flame, and then it just went whoosh, because the dust just went up and it just went whoosh, and it scared the living crap out of me. And fire extinguisher and stuff came out and it was fine, but no fires in the shed, they're bad. Now, I just wanted to do this one at normal speed, to show you how quickly it takes to actually do a rough grind on one of these knives. Starting from now, it'll take about 30 seconds to be able to grind this knife down to the very basic profile, which, to be honest, isn't that long, and it doesn't take me very long to get it. This was one of the quicker processes, which I thought would take a little bit longer. But once I actually got good at it, and once I learned the angles for keeping the knives at, and where to keep your fingers, and that sort of stuff to make it so much quicker and easier, I could fly through these. I could literally get through 70 in a day without the slightest bit of worry. So this one is coming about to the end, and it took me, looking at the timestamp, about 40 seconds to get through this one knife. So it didn't take very long at all. Next, I've got to shape them, I've got to put them on the belt grinder and shape them and all that sort of fun stuff. But this process was so quick, so easy, and it just doesn't take very long at all to get through it. Now, this grinder gives you a very straight edge. It doesn't give you any sort of curves that you can do easily, and it's really good for shaping out the first grind, but it's a really rubbish at trying to get any sort of curves, nice feel, nice hand feel, and that sort of stuff. So that's what I use the belt grinder here for, and it allows me to get the curves. But my basic way of doing is I look down the edge of the knife through the bolster, and I'll be able to see how smooth it is behind the bolster. So I'll be able to look how much gap there is on each side of the bolster and just try and get as smooth as possible so it fits and it just looks just about right. I'll scroll through 2 different grits, so I'll start at 120 grit and then I'll do a 600 grit pass, and I find that's all it really needs to be able to get a really nice finish at the end of the day. So I put them all in boxes and they go from box to box. So they go from the rough sanded box and then they get another coat and then they get another coat, and that's basically how it works. There's nothing overly tricky about it. And it's just a matter of one knife, and going until you're pretty much done. Okay, now, I know it might sound minor, but the next thing took me way too long to actually figure out and was one of the most annoying things. This is acetone, and one thing that I wasn't doing when I first started out was giving these a quick wipe down with acetone. Now, I can't use water because if I use water it gets into the grain and it clears it all out, but acetone evaporates really, really quickly, and it just makes sure that it's a nice clean surface. And when I wasn't doing this, I was putting on some of the finish, the CA glue finish, and there would be little streaks or scunge or something from the sanding process that would just sit on it, and I'd have to sand down the entire thing again and then finish it again, and my god was that annoying, especially when you're doing a big patch of like 60 knives at a time. That took way too long, and that added too much time to the surface. So now I basically just give them all a quick wipe down with a bit of acetone, and it gets the issue sorted. So I'm going to wipe down the rest of these and continue. Now, it was this part that actually cocked me up the most. It's the finishing stuff. For the finishing, I use this stuff. It's basically a thick CA glue, and it dries really quick, it dries really hard, and you get a really nice polish and buff out of it. It's also super durable, you can wash it, you can do all that sort of fun stuff with it. So it's one of the things that I love to use on these ones. But when I first started using it, I would put several lines and then get a cloth and then wipe it along, as I've seen lots of people do, but it caused me so many issues. Basically what was happening is I would cause lots of streaks on the surface of the knife, and they would need to be sanded down. Now, if you're doing 1 or 2 knives, that's not really an issue. If you're doing 600 knives, that is an issue, because it just took so much time. Some of the knives I was spending like an hour on each knife, and it was just sitting there in front of the TV, sanding, 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 and then I would sand too deep on one small spot, and then I would need to redo the whole process again because I'd sanded through the finish. And trust me when I say that was frustrating as all hell. When I actually figured out a very, very simple way of making this much easier, trust me when I say it was life-changing. I got a little disposable glove, and sorry, I got to put on my mask, so I'll probably get a little bit distorted. I had to start using this thing because I almost killed myself in my shed when I was using this stuff. The fumes that come off it are toxic. I was doing them in the shed, I had the door shut, it was hot as all hell, I had the air conditioner blowing and recirculating all the air around, and I think I almost killed myself. I came out of the shed, I was gagging, my eyes were running, my nose was running, and it was just horrible. So whenever I use this stuff now, the gas mask goes on.
Okay, I hope I'm not too distorted, but basically, I'll do this up a little bit closer so you guys can see properly. But yeah, I'll put one line on each side, and then basically rub the polish in. And again, and then I give it a couple more wipes until I can feel it starts to get a little bit more sticky, and then I'll finish. And then basically that is it. It comes out as a nice smooth surface, and it means I've got minimal sanding I need to do after it. Now this stuff actually does get relatively expensive when you need to order a lot of it, and when I was wiping it on there, it used up a lot more than what it actually should have, and ended up going through a lot of it and then sanding most of it off. It was just a pain. So when I actually figured out this little system, it made it so much easier, and so much, it was just so much better.
Okay, so that is only eight knives. They do get up your nose. I'll show you guys quickly how these ones are actually coming out. Okay, so these are ready. They've got their first coat of them on, which came out looking really nice, and they're just going to need another 7 coats. So I put about 6-7 coats all up on these ones, and I find that you get a really nice luster, and you've got less of a chance of actually sanding through with about 7 coats. I find that's about the magic point. Like I say, I don't want to put too many on because it's a little bit of a waste, but 7 coats I find is probably the magic point for these. Alright, so the next step after I've got them all with about 7 coats, even with the smoothest application of a finish, there are still very slight bumps. If you want to focus on that instead of me. This one is stringy bark burl, but there's still lots of very small little bumps. As you can see behind me, there is a good range of different belts I've got up there, but I find that one of the ones I was using was about a 600 grit, but if you try and use a 600 grit on this finish, it will chew through it in about half a second, and you're going to have a bad time. The other day I did probably about, well, this box behind me, and the majority of them were sanded through, so I need to put another coat on every single one of these, which is quite annoying. But if I don't, then you'll find there's lots of very small little bumps and divots which need to be sanded through, which is just time consuming. So I've got a 2500 grit belt on here, which is very fine. I usually try and do a little bit of wet wash, so I've got a little bit of water here, so I dunk it in the water and then try and give it a very light sanding, and then makes it a little bit quicker to do the rest of it. So I'll start on these ones and continue. Now these ones, I've just given it a very quick sand. Like I said, it wasn't a massive sand. See if it focuses on it there. But it means that it just takes the ridges off it and it makes it a little bit quicker for me to hand sand. Like I say, I want to go deeper, but the second I go deeper, then I sand through it and then I have a bad time. So I have a much bigger box of knives here. These ones are all getting ready. I have Expo coming up soon. So on the 5th, 6th and 7th of April, which is pretty much next week, I have an Expo. I am going to the Food, Lifestyle and Home Expo in Adelaide. So if anybody's around and want to come and say hello, I'll have a stall. I'll have probably about 12 different varieties of knives up on the wall and other ones for sale. So if you guys want to come and have a look, they'll be there to have a look at. But I'm going to start doing these and then I'll go into the next part. Now these are all done. I've probably got about 50 in here, and it took me way too long to find this belt. If I thought about it earlier, it would have made sense, but I was trying to do it with a 600 grip belt, and it just flew through any of the finish way too quickly and way too annoyingly. But it is what it is, and it does mean that I'm way quicker at doing them now. If I discovered this earlier, I could have gotten them out a hell of a lot quicker, but it is what it is. Alright, so those ones just need to have a sand down now, which is pretty much all that's left. Give them a sand, polish, and then a final sharpen. One thing I did notice is that when some of the knives came in, they were supposed to be really sharp, and some of them were great, and some of them were not as sharp. It's still the same seal, so it'll hold a great edge, but I do have to give them a final sharpen before I send any of them out. Okay, so now I'll get into some of the nitty details about the things behind the scenes and the things that I didn't actually see happening when I was planning the whole thing. The first one would be the postage. When I actually looked at the postage, I'd never actually sent anything that big overseas before. So when I have something like a full knife set, for example, sending it to the UK, which is surprisingly one of the more expensive ones, it cost me about $70 to send a full knife set to the UK, and I was only charging about $25 for postage. Now, if I thought about it, I probably wouldn't have changed the price, but I would have upped the price of the full knife set in the beginning, so it would sort of custom for it, because nobody would really spend $70-something on postage, but it's pretty much what I ended up having to spend on it, which ended up throwing out a hell of a lot of my figures. So the postage ended up being a bit of a blowout and costing probably about $5,000 more than what I was actually budgeting for, which is kind of annoying, but it's something you got to take on the shoulder. The next thing was pretty much finding people that wanted to buy the knives, because you can have the most fantastic product there ever, but unless you advertise it right, you're not going to go anywhere with it, because nobody's going to be able to see it, nobody's going to be able to buy it, because the second you put something on Kickstarter, it goes to the very bottom of the slush pile, and it's not going to be seen unless people can actually see get linked there in the first place, because Kickstarter aren't going to advertise it unless you're already starting to get orders through. So you've got to have all that stuff sorted, which I didn't really do that much of, to be honest. Now thankfully I do have this YouTube channel, so I promoted it on here a little bit, but I think I only had about 2-3 orders that came through off the YouTube channel, and then the majority of it came from Reddit. So I put in a Reddit post showing how I made these knives, and it had a good chunk of people that saw that and then went there and bought one, which I think pushed it a little bit higher in the ranking algorithms, and then made Kickstarter start promoting a little bit more, and then I started getting more internal orders instead of external orders. I did some Facebook advertising, but I'm still not quite sure how effective that was, and it was pretty much word of mouth. I got a few orders from word of mouth, which is kind of awesome, and that's basically how it worked. Oh, and scam companies. There are so many Kickstarter scam companies out there. Ones that will say, we will advertise this to the world's extent, we will advertise this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, but we want to have a portion of your stuff. So one of them, which I thought was very, very rude, came up to me and said, oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. It's not going to cost you very much, it'll be fine. And then when I went through the actual final process and they sent me a contract, they said, we want to have 40% of your total sales, which is ridiculous. 40% of all the knife sales. And obviously I said no to that, because that's just insane, but you gotta wonder how many people are actually going through that sort of thing, not knowing how to be able to promote it. They get to the bottom of the slush pile and they agree to the thousands of emails. Like, I literally had about 50 emails in a week coming from people offering to partner with me and promote it and do that sort of stuff. The answer to the last question is, would I do it again? And probably. My wife would probably have a bit of a hissy fit about it, because she did a lot of the organisational stuff, and we spent nights up to midnight just packaging stuff up and sending it off, and she was on the computer doing up labels and organising everything, and I'd be replying to emails at the same time as I'm behind me sanding and getting stuff ready, and it was a hectic really, really hectic time. Luckily my wife was still on maternity leave, which she isn't anymore, but now she's back at work and baby's in daycare, and it would be a little bit more tricky to do another one. But thankfully I have set up my website properly. So if you see there, yourlastknife.com will have the links for, I'll have the links all on that sort of fun stuff below, but yourlastknife.com has been set up and I think I've got it quite well. I've got a build your own knife builder, so you can go there, select the knife that you want or the knife set, you can select the wood that you want, you can select the epoxy colours you want and all that sort of fun stuff. And then I will get an order that will pop up to me and I will pretty much start and send it off. And that's pretty much how it works. I'm really happy with how it gave me a chance to actually start the business, get it going and get it off the ground. Whereas I'd probably be sitting in my same job if I didn't do the Kickstarter, because I'd just be paranoid about, do I have enough word of mouth? Do I have enough of me out there to be able to go for it and do it? And thankfully, it gave me the chance. And I'm loving that. With the YouTube channel, some of you guys are probably linking this one from the email that I'm going to send out, but it's going to give me a lot more time to be able to work on the YouTube channel since I am working from home. And you guys will probably see some more knife videos. If you want to see goldfish videos, then you probably won't get that many of them, but more knife videos, and I'll be able to do a lot more DIY stuff since I am doing everything at home. And I love it. I don't have a 40-minute commute to work anymore. I don't have to deal with the stupid pettiness that I had to deal with at work. And I am just loving that. So coming up next, I have a little spot at the Adelaide Home and Lifestyle Expo, the 5th, 6th and 7th of April, which is next week. So if anybody in Adelaide wants to come along and say hello, I'll have some knives up on display, and you're welcome to come along and have a yarn, because I'm either going to be way too busy talking to people or I'll be kind of sitting there bored. I have no idea how it's going to go. But thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for the people that supported me on Kickstarter, because I really, really, really do appreciate it, and I hope that you love your knives, because I have sent out some awesome looking knives. I'll scroll through some of them now, but they just came out incredibly. I've got my Instagram, which will go through a lot of the knives and the process and everything when I put it up there, and it will scroll through a lot of them, and you can see some of the awesome work that I've done, and give you some ideas if you want one for yourself. But the website is up, it is running, and I am pretty happy with it. I'm going to update it soon with some of the more new wood styles that I've got, and that sort of fun stuff. But it is all up, running, and going fantastically. So, thank you very much, and I appreciate the support. I really, really do. And I look forward to being able to do this for a lot longer, and to be able to produce some awesome quality knives. So, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time.